Your only experience with the brand McAfee may be the occasional, annoying pop-up message informing you that the trial version of your antivirus program has run out of time. But the man who founded the business had a far more interesting life than cybersecurity. The eccentric life of John McAfee, which includes tales of drugs, enormous fortunes made and lost, hopes to develop new medicines, and a brief period of being an international wanted man on the run in Central America has made him a legend outside of the tech industry. If you were unaware of John McAfee's insane life, you are in luck because we will be examining his early years, achievements, antics, dangerous lifestyle, and tragic end. So that you won't miss out on amazing content like this, be sure to click the subscribe button and enable the notification bell. Over the past few decades, the tech industry has given us a wide variety of captivating personalities, from pulsating superegos in the mold of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk to steely-eyed geeks like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. We both admire and despise men like these, celebrating their accomplishments while also envious of their fame and wealth. They are almost as difficult to avoid and are just as common as the brands they are known for. But when compared to one man, these guys become indistinguishable. A man with a strong claim to being one of the most colorful, infamous, and outright ridiculous people on the planet, in addition to being the most extraordinary figure in the tech world. It's frequently difficult to believe John McAfee's story because it's so unbelievable. Money, lots of drugs, guns, women, Bitcoin, multiple incarcerations, and 2 presidential bids are all part of the story. Larger-than-life characters are frequently described as having to be invented if they didn't already exist. Someone would have been laughed out of town if they'd attempt to create John McAfee. To link the individual with a thing that made him wealthy is a stretch. After working throughout America in a variety of tech jobs in his early years, McAfee found success and fortune with the antivirus program that bears his name to this day. In 1945, McAfee was born in England, the US Army base where his father, an American, was stationed at the time. When John was still a young child, the family relocated to Virginia, and he eventually earned a mathematics bachelor's degree from Roanoke College. McAfee's life's turning point occurred when he was 15 years old. His father, a violent alcoholic, shot himself in the head after taking out his anger and unhappiness on his son and wife. Seeing such an incident shaped McAfee into the wild card he is now. McAfee pursued a PhD in mathematics in Louisiana despite acquiring his father's love of alcohol before being expelled for having a sexual relationship with an undergraduate student. He picked up coding skills while working at a variety of odd jobs before developing a system for scheduling trains while employed by the Missouri Pacific Railroad. He also grew fond of LSD and other hallucinogens while working there. By the 1970s, he had moved to Silicon Valley and was working odd jobs while abusing drugs and alcohol. He left Omex in 1983, leaving behind a daily routine that included cocaine, Quaaludes, and a bottle of scotch, and found himself all by himself with suicidal thoughts. He eventually discovered his way to Alcoholics Anonymous and got himself sober through a therapist. 2 brothers in Pakistan created the first PC-focused virus in 1986, albeit without malicious intent. By this point, McAfee was employed by Lockheed and came to believe that this new threat had the potential to do irreparable harm. From his home, he established McAfee Associates and started creating software to fight these computer viruses. His abilities as a marketer and prophecy of doom were only slightly superior to his success in this area. By the end of the decade, McAfee Associates was making nearly $5 million a year, and some of the biggest companies in the US were using his software thanks to his skill at stoking the threat posed by viruses. His alleged worries about the risk facing both corporate and individual computer users were laid out in detail in his 1989 book, Computer Viruses, Worms, Data Diddlers, Killer Programs, and Other Threats to Your System. Michelangelo, a brand new computer virus that debuted in 1992 and was capable of infecting millions of computers worldwide, was forewarned about by McAfee. Sales of his software consequently skyrocketed, enabling McAfee associates to go public. Although the Michelangelo virus did not live up to McAfee's hype and only infected a small number of computers, it made him very wealthy. After leaving the business he had founded in 1994, McAfee cashed in his stock options for about $100 million. He appeared to lead a fairly stable life after resignation. He founded numerous other businesses, including Tribal Voice, and provided startup advice. He also taught at Stanford's Graduate School of Business. He started a yoga retreat at his Colorado home, published spirituality books, and gave computers to school. It appeared as though he had begun a graceful retirement. Then, the financial crash of 2008 occurred. According to reports, McAfee's wealth was reduced to $4 million, and he was forced to sell off most of his possessions. This appears to be the turning point in his life where things started to get strange. By 2010, he had relocated to Belize, a small country on the Caribbean coast, sold his home, and started developing a plot of land there. After meeting American microbiologist Alison Adonisio in a nearby resort, he founded a pharmaceutical company called Quorumex. He also started a cigar manufacturing company and a coffee distribution business based on Adonisio's research, which McAfee funded and widely publicized. It was hoped that Quorumex would be able to create a new class of antibiotics. However, McAfee's life in Belize was becoming more and more unpredictable. He started hanging out with local drunks and prostitutes at a bar in a nearby town. He broke up with his 12-year girlfriend and began dating a 16-year-old who later nearly killed him while he was asleep. There were always more guns, girls, and drugs in his life. His excesses went unnoticed for a while, perhaps as a result of the weapons and gear he gave the local police and Coast Guard. McAfee was charged with producing methamphetamine and possessing an unlicensed weapon in 2012 after Belizean police units detained him due to his lifestyle, which attracted attention. Even though the charges were ultimately dropped, worse things happened afterwards. Later on in the same year, Greg Fall, a neighbor of McAfee's, was discovered shot to death and apparently executed at his home further down the beach. This was just the beginning of the murderous streaks. While denying any involvement in Fall's death, McAfee was able to elude, capture, and flee to Guatemala. He claimed that he was running from the police because he thought they were out to kill him and that Fall's murderer might have been after him instead. Showtime published Gringo, The Dangerous Life of John McAfee in 2016. Numerous claims were made about him and his time in Belize in the Nanette Burstein-directed movie, many of which McAfee appears to have made little effort to refute. Adonisio thinks he drugged and then sexually assaulted Fall before she was able to flee. And among the more serious allegations are that he personally hired thugs to torture and kill Fall. After being expelled from the country, McAfee met Janice Dyson in 2012. Initially employed by him as an escort, they later became engaged in 2013. John McAfee was previously married twice, and his wife, Janice, claimed that he saved her from a violent pimp before they met. However, there aren't many details available about his first spouse. His second wife, Judy, a former flight attendant, assisted him in starting his own business in the 1980s. They split up in 2002. McAfee once claimed to have 47 children, but it is unknown exactly how many there were. McAfee declared his candidacy for president in 2015, but received very little support. After that, he was detained in Spain in October 2020. Despite reportedly earning millions of dollars between 2014 and 2018, McAfee did not file any tax returns. His extradition to the United States from Spain was pending, according to the U.S. Justice Department. McAfee was discovered dead in his cell on June 23, 2021, just hours after his extradition request had been approved. Authorities stated that everything indicates that John McAfee committed suicide, even though the cause of his death is still under investigation. The documentary Running with the Devil, The Wild World of John McAfee, chronicles the colorful life of John McAfee, the inventor of McAfee Antivirus, one of the most popular pieces of computer software ever. Although he was extremely successful, John also frequently ran afoul of the law and eventually took a film crew with him when he was sought by police for questioning regarding the murder of his neighbor. The feature-length documentary, which is available on Netflix, is described as the definitive story of a larger-than-life character, a man who ran for president, escaped from prison multiple times, and claimed to have hacked the world with access to hundreds of hours of never-before-broadcast footage of McAfee as he is being pursued by the authorities. It seemed incredible that McAfee was able to escape with so much over the years when looking back on his story to date. It's puzzling how he was able to return to the United States and simply carry on living his life in the spotlight after leaving Belize and the murder accusations that still loom over him. His campaign for the presidency needs to be viewed in some sort of context. After all, he was never going to win the nomination of a party that many consider to be little more than a fringe group of lunatics. It nevertheless raises the alarming point that wealthy, morally dubious men with murky pasts can still aspire to be the so-called leader of the free world, and in the case of Donald Trump, actually succeed. Many of McAfee's million-plus Twitter fans believe that he is a hero who is being punished for defying authority. This is strikingly similar to how many people view Trump, ignoring his dreadful history of sexual misconduct, tax evasion, and other misdemeanors. What do you think? Do you think McAfee was a hero and lived life how he wanted? Or is he a war criminal who became crazed and took his own life? Let us know in the comments below.